ought to be in pictures. You're wonderful to see. You ought to be in pictures.
Hello and welcome to Deep Dive Movie Reviews with my friend Steve Hackman and myself, James Marsh. This is a deep dive short on the bonus 11th episode of The Sandman Season 1.
James, I think you and I were recording another episode yesterday when we got news that on Netflix that episode 11 had dropped of The Sandman. And you and I had probably one of the best conversations, I think we said to each other, of the nearly a year we've been doing deep dive movie reviews. The conversation we had about The Sandman had to be one of our most enriching and engaging.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we covered so much ground with that and, really dove into the themes and the imagery and every sort of aspect of it. It was really sort of great fun. And if you haven't watched that episode, obviously go back and check it out. And we would do it in the middle of doing another episode, and then I saw a message out of the corner of my eye saying, "Hey, check out Netflix. An 11th episode has just dropped." And it's kind of a double episode.
Yes.
It covers two of the standalone issues from Volume 3, Dream Country, which, are very kind of different in a way. I mean, Dream is there, but one of them is animated.
Right. Yes. Before we even get into it, I saw on Twitter that Neil Gaiman had just posted, "Here's a gift." And I just thought that was such a beautiful way. I'm just enjoying Neil Gaiman's worldview and the way he does things, because, to have this pre-planned, knowing exactly 2 weeks after Sandman had come out, once people had binged it, once people had got that, oh gosh, how much longer are we going to have to wait for more of the Sandman? He just puts a little cherry on the top and goes, "Here's a gift for you." And in fact, like I said, we were getting ready to record another episode. You and I nearly canceled that episode so we could race and just watch this and do what we're doing now. But we paused that. We're coming back and now going to address episode 11.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know exactly what the thinking behind the strategy of this was. I mean, as we've mentioned, half of the episode is from an issue called Dream of a Thousand Cats, which is a story about cats, and was done animated. I'm not sure if it was falling a little bit behind in post-production or anything like that, or whether they just thought, you know what, we've done these episodes. We want these stories to come out as part of season 1, but at the same time, because they're kind of standalone, the impact might be diminished somewhat if people are like binging season 1. The story really comes to a climax at the end of episode 10, and then there's just this kind of these random 2 stories for the finale, if you like, of the season. So I think this kind of makes sense that they're like, here's season 1, boom, and like you said, here 2 weeks later, here's a little cherry, just a little PS.
That's it.
A little addendum, just to give you, I think what it does in quite a simple and effective way is it further illustrates the nature and structure of the show and of the Sandman season, that it's not this traditional, episode by episode single arc that, when we talked about this at length during our review of the first season, but every now and again it will just sort of take a digression, stop, take a breath, just have a dream of its own almost, and do something just a little sort of off to the side, something a little different. And this is a perfect example. And I've got to be honest, not to show my hand too quickly, this is some of the stuff where the series works best for me.
Mm-hmm.
This is more reminiscent of perhaps episode 6 than any of the other episodes,
which is our favorite episode.
Which was absolutely our favorite. Yeah. So again, you've got 2 issues of the comic being combined. You've got Dream of a Thousand Cats and you've got Calliope. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because even saying Calliope, it seems that everybody in that episode kind of struggles with exactly how do you pronounce this name?
Right.
Is it Calliope? Is it Calliope? Is it Calliope? Everybody seems to have a slightly different pronunciation for that name.
I'm going to goof it up no matter what. So there we go.
They're offering you a soft landing. I think
that's
straight
right.
away.
That's right. They're putting the ball right over the hoop and let me play with it a bit. James, I know that the source material for The Sandman came out long before Black Mirror, but when I was watching these standalone episodes, I was getting a Black Mirror-esque feeling, and I love Black Mirror. So I almost felt like I was getting my my Sandman was mixing with my Black Mirror to really hit all the good spots, and probably showing my hand a little bit. We're talking about this bill being Neil Gaiman's cherry on the top here. This was a delicious cherry.
Oh, it was a gorgeous kind of episode. After reading that issue of Dream of a Thousand Cats, I was like, well, this is probably one that they're not going to do in the TV show, because how are you going to do it? But it's done in this beautiful kind of, it appears hand-drawn animation. It probably isn't. It's probably digital animation, but it feels very kind of
it has
tactile.
that rotoscope feel, you know. It's got that rotoscope feel to it.
Yeah, or that these are pages from a children's book that have been sort of brought to life.
Right.
And is essentially the story of a young kitten who is a house cat. He is a pet who is beckoned out of his house one night and taken to a meeting of cats in a graveyard, where they're told this kind of sort of tragic and yet sort of magical story of a cat who, you know, thought they had it all. It's interesting. It's a story about the perspective of a house cat, you know, and they're under this sort of delusion that they are in charge, you know, which anybody who's had a pet cat will know that this is exactly the kind of aura that they emanate, you know, that they are the boss. They don't care about you as long as you feed them, you know, and they're just as likely to sort of claw you and bite you as they are to show affection.
I've owned cats, and yes, what this episode does delightfully as well is when the cat comes to the realization that they're not in charge. It's almost like their whole world comes crashing down. Like up is down, north is south. My whole perception of reality has been conflated. And this is it's a wonderful examination of perspective.
It is, and it's about how you know, you can manage your station in life and your expectations or disappointment about your station in life through your dreams, and that dreams are a way of escaping, and are a sort of a healthy and safe realm through which you can sort of escape.
Well, even though there's a couple dark undertones in this episode, or this section of the episode, I found a lot of the hope, the Martin Luther King-esque, you know, I dream of a certain world. I dream, you know, the Martin Luther King, I have a dream speech. I have a dream where black and white children are playing together, and the power of dreams to create reality. The one thing about this episode, it really underscored, and something that the whole season tries to encapsulate it in the whole season, is the power of dreams to shape reality. That reality is actually not as permanent as we think it is. It's made of very malleable stuff. And that stuff can be shifted and transformed by the power of a shared story or a shared dream. And that's what A Dream of a Thousand Cats really tries to communicate.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think one of the themes is that reality is merely the result of a lot of people trying to meet the expectations of their dreams, or to make their dreams come true to some degree, and that the ideal reality is actually the dream world, is kind of like the non-reality of the situation, but that's just as valid, and that your existence within your dreams is just as important, just as valid, defines you just as legitimately as the real world does. And I thought in this story it does a great job of illustrating that, and illustrating, you know, this sort of playful arrogance of cats, and our fairly strange relationship that we have with cats, and that we continue to try and domesticate these animals that really don't care one way or the other, and ultimately have these dreams of being this dominant master race that just toys with us before destroying us. And that's the reality that they would like to see come to fruition.
If you haven't seen the episode yet, know that the next time you see your cat dreaming, you're going to have a whole nother view of what he's dreaming about.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, and I thought it was really done really well. You know, it's like I said, it's animated, so that gives the opportunity for an incredibly sort of incredible voice cast, and they bring in some really sort of big hitters. You've got Sandra Oh in there. You've got sort of Doctor Who favorites. So, David Tennant is in there. James McAvoy is there. Michael Sheen, and notably Neil Gaiman himself.
Yes,
is
playing the
there as the
vulture.
sort of the sort of skeletal vulture that sends the storyteller off into the dream world to seek out Dream in order
Mhm.
to reconcile her own sort of position in life and her own dream, after sort of realizing in quite tragic circumstances that she might not be the master of her domain.
Yes, yes, and it's nice to see Dream represented in a animated form. That whole perception that he's not human. He's not,
Mm.
he can be an animated cat just as much as he can be a human male. He's Dream personified, and he can take different manifestations.
And that he exists across all planes for all beings
Hmm.
as well, as we will see in the second half, which in some ways kind of humanizes the character far more than we have seen him,
Yeah.
if you were even allowed to call him, humanized in the past, but at the same time illustrates further how his relationship to humans is just one branch of his existence, and that he
Hmm.
has meaningful relationships with deities as well.
Yes, yes.
And here that he exists manifested as a cat for
Hmm.
other cats, because that is the most relatable form for
Hmm.
him to take in order to achieve what he must achieve. And I thought that was a really nice way of doing it,
Yeah.
because humans do exist in the cat world, but he
Hmm.
does not appear to them as a human. He appears to them as a cat.
We all create God in our own image.
There you go.
I thought that was a clever segue into the second part of the episode. Calliope,
Calliope. I think it's Calliope.
Calliope.
Okay, so I'll just go on with it. So Calliope is the second part of the story, a very different story, essentially about an imprisoned muse, the titular Calliope, who is gifted from one author to another author and kept sort of prisoner, and as the victim of abuse in the home of a struggling, once famous novelist, who has now got writer's block and is struggling to get his second novel out. He's already a year late or what have you. But as soon as he brings the muse into his home, much against her will, it must be said, it bears fruit, quite literally.
Mm-hmm.
And he becomes a great success once again. However, as if it needed to be said, he soon discovers that this Faustian pact that he has made essentially is doomed to failure, and that he has messed with the wrong muse, you might say.
Indeed. It was wonderful just to start out with the original novelist who bequeaths the muse is the always wonderful Derek Jacobi.
Yeah.
And wonderful. I had to ask Siri how old he was, and I forgot if she said 83 or 86. Wow. He's looking good though, and it was wonderful to see him, because he has been such a mainstay of film, television, and theater for 50 plus years.
Oh yeah, he's been around for forever. He's a great sort of Shakespearean actor.
Mm-hmm.
Pops up in a lot of Kenneth Branagh's films.
Yes, he does.
They're regular collaborators, and stage and screen since probably like the 50s or 60s or something like that, and still going strong.
And the young novelist is played by Arthur Darvill, which they're going to their Doctor Who bench once again. They've got David Tennant in the first part. Arthur Darvill played Rory, part of the husband-wife team with the Matt Smith incarnation of Doctor Who. He was the husband of Amy Pond. Probably some of the best Doctor Who so I'm loving this whole Neil Gaiman, the Sandman, Doctor Who mashup, because it's definitely hitting my sweet spot there.
Oh, okay, that's great. I mean, as I have confessed in the past, I stopped watching Doctor Who a very long time ago. The Sylvester McCoy era is what put it to bed for me, when a licorice all-sort monster showed up in, I think, his first episode. I was like, nope, I'm done. This is stupid now.
Well, I'm going to have to woo you back to the...
Yeah, and I've got to be honest, I've never really gone back. I might have seen the one or two standalone David Tennant or Matt Smith episodes, but that's really it. I mean, Tom Baker, Peter Davidson, and then Colin Baker. That was when I was watching Doctor Who, and I definitely went back and watched some of the John Pertwee episodes, and then What's the chap before him? You were close.
Troughton, Patrick Troughton.
Yeah. Patrick Troughton is his name. So those were probably the earliest ones that I watched, and I quite liked him. He was kind of very eccentric and sort of funny in a way that I hadn't seen in William Hartnell. But definitely by the time we got to William till Sylvester McCoy, I was kind of done. Although, as a quick segue within a segue, I did once serve a pint to 2 Doctor Who's simultaneously when they walked into my pub that I was working at in Windsor. They were doing Panto at the theatre just around the corner, and Peter Davidson and Sylvester McCoy walked into a pub together.
That's fantastic.
And I was like, "Oh, you're not supposed to be in the same room at the same time."
I told you when I was in London 3 years ago, just before the pandemic, and we were in Covent Garden. My wife was in Doc Martens, and while I was outside on the street, lo and behold, I turn, and who's walking straight at me but Peter Capaldi, the 12th Doctor.
Yeah.
And
nice.
I just ran into the shop. Honey, don't ask questions. Come out right now.
You know what?
That's
I've just
Peter
remembered.
Capaldi.
I have actually been in. Been in the physical presence of another Doctor Who. I was walking through the streets of Manchester in the mid-90s, turned a corner and literally walked straight into Christopher Eccleston.
Oh, wow.
We were both just like, coming around, and he was just like, "Oh, terribly sorry." And I was like, "Oh, I know who you are. He's the guy from Shallow Grave."
Yeah, I was going to say, he's a big boy. I bet you went,
he's a big guy,
Yeah, I was going to say, he's,
and he was walking through the center of Manchester in the middle of the day, so he was kind of like, blinkers on, I've got to get through these crowds before anybody sees me. Yeah. But it was a little quiet corner, and we just kind of, we didn't stop and chat, but physical contact totally counts.
There you go.
Anyway, back to so I mean, this is a kind of fascinating episode. This is a fascinating story. And quite a tragic one, because it is revealed that Calliope is the former wife of Dream. That's the kind of the big reveal in this episode, and that they had a child together. We don't know exactly when this happened. You get the impression it may have been thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
Derek Jacobi's character, emphasizes the fact that Calliope is thousands of years old, and that she's not a real person. She is one of the great muses, she's daughter of Zeus and what have you. So she is a goddess herself, but she will grant, the wishes of whomever she is. She becomes property of, essentially.
Yes.
And she is imprisoned and beholden to them until they say the words that you may go free and what have you. But it is revealed that her and Dream, they got history.
Yeah.
And not great history. It's a fractured, troubled relationship that and they both kind of seem to be holding grudges against the other one.
Right. But they have the shared confinement that they both experienced seem to have softened their hearts towards one another. And we get kind of an insight into what a bastard and vindictive personality Sandman has been in the past, which really helps to see the emotional development and growth of the character. We said in our episode that it was glacial in nature. It's slowly happening, but you're definitely seeing this movement from a guy who's very vindictive. In fact, we see at the end of this episode, he's quite happy to have Arthur Darvill's character continue in misery in perpetuity. And he wouldn't even give a blink about that. And yet it's Calliope who is the one who has to kind of soften his heart to say, no, we have to forgive. And he's like, but he imprisoned you. Yeah. And I don't forgive that.
The deeds. I don't forgive what he did.
Yeah. What he did can't be forgiven.
The man.
Yeah. And even if it's not for him, it's for me. And that's really the writer and Neil Gaiman. Really, this is a prophetic voice for today. There's so much polarization in the world. There's so much vindictiveness. Unless you're willing to say you're forgiven, and you know what, it doesn't even have to be because of you. I can't live with the bitterness that it's going to cause in me. And so, again, I come away from these stories with this hope. That's what I've taken away from Sandman from the beginning, is this hope for humanity. And it was just reinforced by watching episode 11.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it is beautiful. I'm very much intrigued to see where this relationship is going.
Yes.
We learned that they had a son. The son is dead. We know that. We don't know why or how. She took the son to the underworld or something, but they broke up, I think, and that's when it happened. We don't know. He still holds a grudge. He is not willing yet to forgive her for what she's done. Seems to be how the episode ends. He's like, they seem to have turned a corner towards reconciliation, but he's like, I'm not ready yet to forgive you in the way that you are willing to forgive the author who has imprisoned you.
Right.
So I hope we do see more of her, and I'm not sure whether we do or not in the comics.
The good thing is, I think the comics can be a great source material, but I don't think future seasons have to be bound completely to the source material. I think there needs to be a little. I mean, they've already, from what I understand, have already taken some liberties from the source material.
That's true.
So I think a little divergence is warranted at the appropriate junctures.
Yeah, they need some wiggle room. I just want to give a shout out to Melissanthi Mahut, who's the actress, the Greek actress who plays Calliope. All through the episode, I was like, I've seen you in something else. I've seen you. What have I seen you in? And it is Eurovision Song Contest, the story of Fire Saga. If you've seen that movie, she plays the Greek singer, the Greek entrant who is flirting with Will Ferrell's character like throughout, and she's actually great in that movie. She's one of the funniest characters, and she's wonderful in this. It's a completely different role.
She's really good.
She exudes this kind of aura of sort of stoic. There's this kind of stoicness to her, where she's quietly suffering through whatever it is that she's going through. She knows that time is on her side in some regard. She is immortal. And so that she will get past this, but at the same time, you can totally see how she operates as a muse and how she has sort of entranced and influenced all of these artists over the years.
Well, there's some great there's a great theme there too, because she keeps trying to, whether it was Derek Jacobi or Arthur Darvill's characters, to say, you don't have to confine me, just ask. That's what I do anyhow. You're trying to take what is freely given, and you're never going to, when you make this Faustian bargain, yes, you get your riches and your gold, but you're going to not have the fulfillment that you would have if you went and did this the normal way. Like, she's really trying to communicate. She's not actually trying to withhold her muse abilities from them. She's trying to have it done in a proper
I think I think what it exposes is sort of the fragility of masculinity to a degree, because it's implied without being overtly shown in the show that her muse abilities operate through sex. Essentially, it's a physical relationship. The Derek Jacobi's character is very quick to say, well, you can take it from her. You don't have to earn it, as you don't have to wait for her to give it to you or convince her to give it to you. You can just take it. That's what I've been doing. Essentially, I've been keeping a prisoner and raping her repeatedly over the years. And what she is saying is, you should earn this. You should woo me.
Yes.
If I fall in love with you, then you will reap the rewards sort of tenfold. But your lack of trust in yourself, your insecurity, your lack of confidence, is what's imprisoning you within this situation, because you're turning yourself into the villain. Because of your own lack of confidence, that you don't believe that I would freely give these gifts to you if the choice was mine. So it's taking choice away from a woman in some way, which obviously can be interpreted in a number of ways. But at the same day, it's a woman saying, give me the choice to do what I want, and you may appreciate what happens, or at least if it goes your way, you will deserve it, and you will have earned it. But it's man saying, I don't have the confidence to trust you for the outcome to be the way I want it to be. So I'm just going to hold you prisoner within my own rules and confines and get what I want.
And there's a really powerful message at the end of this that confirms that, where they are talking about these laws. The reason she was bound and she had to be complicit to this whole situation is there's these unspoken laws that they're all bound by. And at the end, they said, well, we need to change the laws, which really sounds like the female voice today. For too many years, decades, centuries, the laws that have governed our societies have been so tilted against women. And we have been, forced into these different kinds of positions. And we need to rewrite these laws. We need a more equitable lawgiver.
Absolutely.
And so it was again, really powerful theme, and I came away from it thinking, wow, fantastic episode 11. That was a great gift, Neil Gaiman.
Absolutely. And it's it's Neil Gaiman showing us that you can use essentially the fantasy genre to talk about anything. And everything, and I've heard him in interviews recently, and that's his reasoning behind why he has chosen to write within the fantasy genre, because it frees him up to essentially talk about anything that he wants. He actually sort of said that he wanted to be, or he thought when he was young that he would be a science fiction writer. That was what he read a lot of as a child. But then, and he was quite disappointed in himself in a way that he didn't end up becoming a science fiction writer. But what he became was something more than that. He gave himself the freedom to go into other areas where you can dip into science fiction and anything else whenever you want. But it's great to see the show again and again and again address these contemporary 21st century socio-political themes, but without straying outside the context of the original material.
Yeah. Well, that's going to wrap it up for our deep dive short on episode 11 of The Sandman. If you're like us, that you've just so loved Neil Gaiman's world that he's created for us, we're looking for word that a season 2 is going to be coming, and no word as of yet, but we wait with bated breath. Hey, leave some comments in the comment section below. Let us know what you think of episode 11. James?
Absolutely. How did you feel? Which episodes are you looking forward to in the future? Are you like us, waiting with bated breath for a second season to be greenlit? And while you're here, check out our other Sandman video in which we talk through the bulk of season 1, and check out all of our other videos as well.
Bye.
Goodbye.